These little guys are the best form of pest control that I have ever had. If you're tired of slugs devouring your vegetables, then these quirky little ducks might be your new garden besties. In this video, I'm going to be sharing why I've chosen to use runner ducks as a form of pest control in my garden, and to discuss how to care for them and if they might be the right fit for your garden. We got our 2 female runner ducks last spring. Their names, I call them Daisy and Lilac, but honestly we just call them the ducks generally. But they joined our little mini homestead last spring, and they were the most absolute adorable things I've ever seen. In fact, comparing the little ducklings to chicks, I would say the ducklings were more adorable. They would run around our house and make these cute little pitter-patter noises. It was so fun. So we have had them for over a year now, and we really started letting them forage and explore our yard late summer last year to fall and through the winter, and now they've been in every day. Pretty much every day we let them out to do some foraging. They are very happy little ducks. They love to just waddle around. They are so adorable seeing them wander around your garden. Runner ducks in particular have a very upright stance to them compared to other ducks. So you might think of ducks like when they waddle. These guys do waddle, but not quite as much. They look a little bit more like penguins in how upright they are. So to get right to the point, is it worth having these runner ducks? Now, I think that depends on your particular situation. For us, yes, 100% it is worth it. That being said, there are some drawbacks, which I will share in a little bit. But in general, I would say they have been a wonderful addition to our garden and helping create homeostasis and a ecosystem that supports our garden versus a garden that supports our slug population. I live in the western side of Washington in the PNW, so this part of the state that is very wet. We get a lot of rain and it's very moist most of the year, and so it's really like a slug heaven. And we have had slug problems just really ramping up over the years, and it's been really hard to control them. The only way that I was able to really control them well was to go out every single day and hand pick them. And there were times that I would go out in the evening to pick them, and it was like an army of slugs marching from the lower part of our property where there's a marshy area up to our garden. Like there was just like slug after slug, and they were just marching on their way up. It really felt like I was battling an army, and I had to consistently go out several times a week to hand pick these slugs, and it was disgusting. And I put them in a bucket of soapy water, and it felt like such a huge task to be able to manage my garden. I learned about runner ducks, I think, through doing some research into how to control slugs, and I came across ducks as a form of pest control. Runner ducks in particular are oftentimes used in like a permaculture garden, which is kind of what I'm aiming to have in my own garden, and I was immediately intrigued by the idea. So I brought this idea up to my husband, and he liked it too, kind of after some discussion, and we decided to go for it and give it a try, and honestly, there's no turning back. So since having our runner ducks for just 1 full year, the slugs are almost non-existent. It is absolutely, I am mind blown. It is amazing how well they have tended to my slug problem. I come out at night now to put the ducks away, and I have walked through the garden, and it is hard to find a slug now. Well, before, I would walk out and immediately find slug after slug after slug just on the ground, in the garden, on the beds, anywhere. And now I had to actually search around to find 1 to 2 slugs. They are such voracious slug eaters that I don't know if I will ever have a slug problem again as long as I have these runner ducks. So why runner ducks in particular? I've done a lot of research, and ducks in general are pretty good for slug control, but runner ducks in particular are amazing foragers. They are bred for foraging. You just will watch them, and they'll just go around and kind of, use their little beak and go around searching for anything they can find. They will eat grass, they will eat weeds, but they will eat some of your garden, which I will discuss in a minute, and they will look for any bugs, and especially their delicacy is slugs. So they will go for slugs first over many other things. Runner ducks also can't fly, and so there's really no concern about them flying over a low fence even. We have 8-foot fences around our property, so we don't have any concerns of that, but they really will not fly. They are also prolific egg layers, and they lay really large eggs compared to like our chickens. The eggs are like super extra large and very higher in protein than chicken eggs. Their yolks are a little bit bigger than our chicken's eggs. If we mix the duck eggs with our chicken eggs and like let's say you want to scramble some eggs, I can't really taste the difference. If you just scramble duck eggs, I can't tell the difference. Some people like the taste of duck eggs. Our family's still kind of getting used to it. Like if we just have a regular duck egg, I think my husband's okay with it, but like my sons and myself, like we just prefer kind of mixing them together. So we feed some of the eggs to our dogs, and we also we scramble some of the eggs and feed it back to the ducks and chickens as a form of protein for them. So we find ways to utilize the duck eggs, but both of them lay 1 egg a day pretty consistently. There has been some concern about ducks being really loud, and I would say they are probably a little bit louder than our chickens are, but not that much, honestly. They're both females, which females tend to be a little louder than the males, but really they're not annoyingly loud. When they do some quacking, it is usually for a short time period, and then they're done. Another reason to get runner ducks in particular is they don't really need a lot of water. They do need to be able to fully submerge their head underwater. They need to clear their nostrils and be able to clear their throat. So you want to make sure that you at least have like a deep pan or something where they can really get their head under the water. But they really do like at least a mini pool, which we provide for them. We want to provide fresh water as often as possible. I will say one of the cons, which I will discuss in more detail later, is that within an hour of filling their tub with clean water, they have made it into a complete dirty mess. So just be aware that it is hard to keep up on, and we've kind of just decided that we're going to do it every other day at this point, because they just make it into a mess almost immediately as soon as we filled it with clean water. But they do love to play in the water, and it is really cute. Duck manure is also a great fertilizer. It is cold manure, so if you've done any research into animal manures, there are some that are hot manures that you have to let sit for a year or so, or like compost before you use it in your garden. Chicken manure, for example, is hot manure. You can't add chicken manure straight into your garden. It will burn your plants. It's too high in nitrogen. Duck manure, on the other hand, is cold manure, so you can add it directly into your garden. So it is safe for your ducks to poop in your garden. If anything, it just fertilizes it. So you can, like when you're cleaning out their pen, you could just add the duck manure straight into your garden for those amazing results, or you can add it to your compost and compost it and kind of really boost your compost with a good nitrogen source. Ducks are also cold hardy and can handle a lot of different weather conditions. In the PNW where we live, where we have a lot of wet and cool weather, the ducks thrive in this kind of environment. They love the wetness, they love the cool, but they don't also mind the hot either. So as long as they have cool water. So they really can handle a lot of different temperatures. So if you live in a colder environment, you might consider ducks over chickens even. Will the ducks destroy your garden? That is a good question. And I will say, in general, they are better than chickens. Chickens will do a lot of scratching in your garden. They will dig up your seedlings. They'll peck at plants. They'll tear up. I mean, they'd love to just tear into our compost. Ducks will not do the scratching. They will trample plants if they can have access to them. Because we have raised garden beds, in general, our ducks don't jump into our beds. The only exception is they love to lay their eggs under our artichoke plant. And so they will hop into that. But really, in general, I don't see them hopping into our garden beds at all, which are raised. And especially like this one here is a 2-foot garden bed. They have not even attempted to jump in, unlike my chickens, which will jump in and completely destroy it. You don't have raised beds. You may have to be more selective on the times that you allow them into the garden. Maybe you have to supervise them more, or maybe you have to fence off certain areas, or wait until plants are bigger and so they can handle a little bit of duck trampling / duck nut chewing. My ducks will only really chew on certain plants, like they really have liked my kale and Swiss chard, and they will only eat the ones that are very accessible to them. So if I put it in the center of my garden or in the center of my garden bed, they won't hop in and eat it. But if it's on the edge, they will nibble whatever is available to them on the edge. So I just have to be aware of that as I'm planting things and kind of be more strategic in how I plant. To me, it's worth it. And honestly, the plants that they have eaten, I'm like, hey, it's payment for them taking care of my slug issues. I would have had way more damage from my slugs than the little damage I'm getting from my ducks right now. So that's their payment for doing their job. So that is something you need to decide if it's worthwhile for you. If you don't have raised garden beds, if your garden is really accessible to the ducks, they probably could do a little more damage. And so you may have to limit how much you're letting them in the garden. Our ducks are pretty much free range from the time we get outside to letting them out in the morning until dusk. And so they have really a lot of full range in our yard. They haven't done a ton of damage, which I'm really thankful for. But like I said, we do have the raised beds, which I think does help. The best time of day to let your ducks do some foraging is first thing in the morning or in the evening time. Not too close to dusk because then they'll want to be in their coop, but you can let them out kind of towards evening time when the slugs are starting to come out. But I would say very early in the morning is the best time because the ducks are most active and they're hungry, and the slugs are also active at the same time. The rudder ducks aren't particularly friendly ducks. As compared to some other duck breeds, you can, if you get them as ducklings and you handle them a lot, they can be friendlier. Mine, we didn't handle a lot. I had just had a baby like a month before we got those ducklings, and so we didn't handle them a lot. So they honestly aren't the friendliest. Like, I have to chase them down to be able to pick one up, which is why I'm not holding one. Otherwise, I'd be holding one right now to show you. And it's even hard to film them because they want to stay like a really good distance away from me. So they're not, ours in particular aren't very friendly, but we didn't get them to be pets. They are part of our slug control and pest control in the garden. So I am fine that we have a long distance relationship where they love to kind of follow me around from a distance. And that's how we work it out, and that's okay. But if you do want to have really friendly ducks, just get them as babies, get them as little ducklings, and handle them a lot and teach them to come when you call. It's definitely easy to be able to do that. I am not an expert in duck care, but I will tell you, give you some tips on how to care for ducks. So they do need a run, a shelter, like a coop and a run are great, just like for chickens. For their coop, we just bought like this, I think it was like a low dog/cat house that a lot of people on Amazon were buying for like stray feral cats, and that's what we use for them because they can't really climb high into a coop and they don't roost at night like chickens do. And we just put some nice clean bedding in there, which they make a mess of pretty quickly, but we put some bedding in there. And that provides shelter for them at night to keep them away from predators. And so I just make sure as they're pretty much moving around during the day of foraging, we make sure at night that they are at least in their run, if not in their coop. Make sure that you're providing fresh water, ideally deep enough so they can get their nose and completely submerged, their heads completely submerged in the water. And ideally you want a minimum of 2 ducks. They are social animals just like chickens, and so having one is not really good. It's not healthy for the duck. They're social and they need to be in groups, and so at least 2 or more is ideal. For us, we have a half an acre with a pretty large garden, and 2 is plenty to take care of the slugs. And we also got just females. We didn't really want any ducklings, and so you can get some that are sexed, and so you can just choose females and not have to worry about having fertile eggs. It is not recommended to keep ducks with your chickens. I did a lot of research to see if it was possible. It's not really recommended. Their runs do connect. They have one wall that is connected, but they are kept separate. And the reason is there are some diseases that ducks give chickens, but as well, ducks are very messy. They are wet, they like splashing in the water, and chickens need dry. So you don't really want to mess with the whole wet and dry situation. So just keeping them separate is good. And also their coop needs are different. Ducks need lower coops, chickens like to roost and need higher. So we just keep them separate. But they do get along with our chickens fine. Like when we let the chickens out to forage, especially in the winter, they all are fine together. There's no issues there. So the main con with having ducks is that they make everything into a mess. Their bedding in their coop is a mess. Their run used to have grass. Now it's just pure mud all the time. And there's not a whole lot we could do to prevent it. They splash their water everywhere. Their water gets muddy. They poop in there. They go, and we have this lower part of our property that gets very wet. And in most of the year it's dry, but during the wet season it's very, very, very wet. And they turned that thing into a complete swampy, mucky mud area. And it was really kind of starting to stink too, because they would poop in there too. So our family's talking about some ways to kind of prevent that. But that was something that we dealt with through the winter. That was kind of a shock, because we did let the ducks out a lot in the winter and they just made a mess of it. So plan accordingly. Know that they're going to be messy, and if you have like a wet area like we do, just know that they are going to turn that to a swamp. They loved it. They were in heaven. They were just going away at it and they were having a good time, but it wasn't fun for us having to trek through that, because that's how do we get to their coop and to their run. So but now this time of year it's fine. It's all dried up and they're all good, but the winter was very mucky. If you're looking for a natural form of slug control / pest control in your garden, runner ducks may be a wonderful solution for you. We've had so much fun having them, and I hope that this video was helpful in providing a lot of information that would be helpful to you in deciding if they're right for your garden. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any of our future videos on how to have a sustainable and organic garden. Thank you for joining me today. As always, go out and grow something, and God bless.